A morning like no other, the alarm buzzed at 5:30 a.m., pulling Jennifer Hayes from a restless sleep. She reached across the nightstand, silencing the noise before it could fully wake her. Outside her small apartment window, the Dallas skyline was still draped in darkness, with only a few scattered lights marking the early risers in the city. She sat up slowly, rubbing the exhaustion from her eyes. Another shift at Memorial City Hospital awaited her, and despite the weariness that seemed to live permanently in her bones, she felt a strange sense of purpose today. Jennifer, 31 years old, had been working as an ICU nurse for nearly 7 years. Her auburn hair was always pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her green eyes held a warmth that patients found comforting even in their darkest hours. But behind that warmth was a shadow, a grief that had shaped everything about who she had become. 5 years ago, her younger brother Tommy had died at age 24. He had been diagnosed with acute kidney failure following complications from diabetes. For 8 months, he had waited on the transplant list, his body growing weaker with each dialysis session. Jennifer had wanted to donate her kidney to him, but they were not compatible. She had watched helplessly as her baby brother, the kid who used to steal her homework and make her laugh until she cried, slowly faded away in a hospital bed. The day Tommy died, something inside Jennifer shifted. The grief carved out a hollow space in her chest, but it also planted a seed of determination. 3 months after his funeral, she walked into the National Kidney Registry office and registered as a living donor. She did not specify who she wanted to help. She just knew that somewhere, another family might be given the chance she and Tommy never had. The call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Jennifer's phone rang during her lunch break. She was sitting in the hospital cafeteria, picking at a salad and scrolling through her phone, when an unfamiliar number appeared on the screen. "Miss Hayes? This is Brenda from the National Kidney Registry," the voice on the other end said. "We have a critical situation. There's a patient in urgent need of a transplant, and you're a match. The situation is extremely time-sensitive. We need to know if you're still willing to donate." Jennifer's heart stopped. For a moment she could not breathe. This was it, the moment she'd been waiting for since she registered. "How much time does the patient have?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt without a transplant. "Maybe 72 hours? His kidneys are completely failing, and he's not responding well to dialysis anymore." Jennifer closed her eyes, seeing Tommy's face in her mind. His smile, his laugh. The way he looked at her in those final days, so tired, but still trying to be brave. "I'll do it," she said without hesitation. "When do we start?" "We need you at Memorial City Hospital tomorrow morning for pre-op testing. If everything checks out, we'll schedule surgery for Friday." After hanging up, Jennifer sat in silence for a long moment. Amanda Foster, her best friend and fellow nurse, slid into the seat across from her. "You okay?" "You look like you've seen a ghost," Amanda said, concern crossing her face. Jennifer looked up, tears suddenly pooling in her eyes. "I got the call. I'm donating my kidney this Friday." Amanda's eyes widened. "Oh my God, are you sure you're ready for this?" Jennifer nodded, wiping her eyes. "I've been ready since the day I lost Tommy. This is why I became a nurse. This is why I'm here." Meeting through Glasson, the other side of Memorial City Hospital. In a private room on the 8th floor, Robert Mitchell lay in bed staring at the ceiling. At 35, he looked a decade older. His face was pale and gaunt, his body weakened by 2 years of declining health. The machines around him beeped rhythmically. Tracking every struggle his body made to keep functioning, Robert Mitchell was not just any patient. He was the CEO of Mitchell Enterprises, a commercial development company that had transformed the Dallas skyline over the past decade. He had built his empire from nothing, starting with a single property investment at age 23 and growing it into a multi-million-dollar corporation. But all the money in the world could not buy him what he needed most, a new kidney, his assistant. Gregory Walsh sat in the chair beside the bed. Laptop balanced on his knees, trying to keep Robert updated on business matters, but Robert barely listened. He was too tired, too sick, too aware that he was running out of time. "The board wants to know about the succession plan," Gregory said carefully. "They're worried about what happens if this surgery doesn't work." Robert turned his head slowly. Tell them I'm not planning on dying. I know, but they need reassurance. Then reassure them, Robert said, his voice rough. Tell them I'll be back in my office within a month. Gregory nodded, though both men knew it was an optimistic timeline. Dr. Patricia Welch entered the room moments later, her expression serious but not grim. She was in her 50s, with short silver hair and the confident demeanor of someone who had performed hundreds of successful surgeries. Robert. We found a donor, she said, and the relief in her voice was unmistakable. It's an anonymous living donor. The match is excellent. We're scheduling surgery for Friday morning. Robert's eyes closed, and for the first time in months, he felt something close to hope. Who is it? He asked. I can't tell you that. The donor requested complete anonymity. All I can say is that this person is incredibly brave and is giving you a second chance at life. Robert nodded slowly. Somewhere in this hospital, someone he had never met was preparing to save his life, and he did not even know their name. The surgery Friday morning arrived with a quiet intensity. Jennifer was prepped for surgery at 6 a.m., her body scrubbed and draped in sterile blue gowns. Amanda had stayed with her until the last possible moment, squeezing her hand and whispering encouragement. You're the bravest person I know, Amanda said, tears in her eyes. Jennifer smiled weakly. I'm just doing what someone should have done for Tommy. In another operating room down the hall, Robert was being prepared as well. 2 surgical teams worked in perfect coordination. Dr. Welch led Jennifer's team, carefully extracting the healthy kidney with precision and care. In the adjacent room, another surgeon prepared Robert's body to receive the life-saving organ. The surgery took 4 hours. When it was over, both patients were moved to recovery rooms, separated by floors and walls, but connected now by something far deeper. Jennifer woke first, groggy and in pain. Her side ached where the incision had been made, but when she saw the recovery room nurse smiling down at her, she knew it had worked. You did beautifully, the nurse said. The kidney is functioning perfectly. Jennifer closed her eyes and whispered, Thank you, Tommy.
I crossed the hospital.
Robert opened his eyes to see Dr. Welch standing beside him. Welcome back, she said. Your new kidney is working. You're going to live. Robert tried to speak, but emotion choked his words. All he could do was nod as tears slipped down his face. Somewhere in this building was the person who had given him his life back, and somehow he knew he had to find a way to thank them. The long road back 3 weeks had passed since the surgery, and Jennifer Hayes was learning that recovery was harder than she had anticipated. The physical pain was manageable with medication, but the exhaustion was relentless. Every movement required thought and effort. Lifting a patient chart felt like lifting weights. Standing for more than an hour left her dizzy and breathless. But Jennifer was stubborn, perhaps too stubborn, against her doctor's advice to take at least 6 weeks off. She returned to work at Memorial City Hospital after just 3 weeks. She told herself she was fine, that she just needed to push through it. Nurses did not have the luxury of long recoveries. The hospital was understaffed, and her patients needed her. Amanda caught her leaning against the nurse's station one afternoon, her face pale and her hand pressed against her side, where the incision still ached. You're not fine, Amanda said bluntly, crossing her arms. You look like you're about to pass out. I'm okay, Jennifer insisted, straightening up despite the wave of dizziness that washed over her. Just a little tired. A little tired? Jennifer, you donated a major organ 3 weeks ago. You need to rest. I've rested enough. I need to work. I need to feel useful again. Amanda sighed, recognizing the stubborn set of Jennifer's jaw. It was the same expression she had worn when she first announced her decision to become a living donor. Once Jennifer made up her mind about something, there was no changing it. At least promise me you'll take breaks. Sit down when you can. Don't try to be a hero. Hey. Jennifer managed a small smile. I'm no hero, just a nurse doing my job. But the truth was, she did not feel like herself. The surgery had taken more from her than just a kidney. It had taken her energy, her stamina, and somehow her sense of balance in the world. She found herself thinking about the person who had received her kidney. Were they recovering well? Were they grateful? Did they have family celebrating with them? She would never know, and that was both comforting and strange. A stranger in the cafeteria, where Robert Mitchell was not supposed to be at Memorial City Hospital. His surgeon had cleared him to recover at home in his sprawling estate outside the city, with private nurses and every comfort money could buy. But Robert found himself drawn back to the hospital again and again. He told himself it was because he wanted to thank the transplant team personally. He told himself it was because he wanted to understand the donation process better so he could support it financially. But the truth was simpler and more complicated. He needed to feel close to the person who had saved him. For the first time in his adult life, Robert Mitchell felt truly humbled. He had built an empire through shrewd business deals and calculated risks. He had always been in control, always the one with power in any room. But now he owed everything to someone who wanted nothing from him. Someone who had given anonymously, expecting no recognition, no reward, no gratitude. It haunted him in the best possible way. On a Thursday afternoon, for weeks after the transplant, Robert sat in the hospital cafeteria wearing jeans and a simple gray sweater. He had deliberately dressed down, avoiding the tailored suits that usually marked him as someone important. Here, he was just another visitor, anonymous and unnoticed. He was reading through a pamphlet about organ donation, when someone collapsed into the chair across from him with a heavy sigh. "Worst day ever," the woman muttered, dropping her head into her hands. Robert looked up, startled. The woman wore scrubs covered in what looked like coffee stains. Her auburn hair was falling out of its ponytail, and she looked completely exhausted. She had not noticed him at all, too absorbed in her own misery.
"Are you okay?"
Robert asked carefully. The woman's head shot up, and Robert found himself looking into the most striking green eyes he had ever seen. For a moment, she just stared at him, clearly embarrassed. "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize someone was sitting here. I'll move." "No, please. Stay. You look like you need to sit down more than I do." She hesitated, then slumped back in the chair. "Thanks. I'm Jennifer. And yes, it's been a terrible day. I spilled an entire pot of coffee in the break room. One of my patients coded during rounds, and I just realized I forgot to eat lunch again." "I'm Robert," he said, extending his hand. When she shook it, he noticed how cold her fingers were. "Have you eaten anything today? Does half a granola bar at 6 a.m. count?" "No, it definitely does not." Robert stood up. "Right here, I'll be right back." Before Jennifer could protest, he walked to the cafeteria line and returned 5 minutes later with a turkey sandwich, a bowl of fruit, and a bottle of orange juice. "You didn't have to do that," Jennifer said, but she was already unwrapping the sandwich. "I know, but you clearly need it more than you need pride right now." Jennifer laughed despite herself. Fair point. They sat in comfortable silence while she ate. Robert found himself studying her. The way her shoulders gradually relaxed as the food hit her system, the way she closed her eyes briefly, as if gathering strength. "So what brings you to the hospital?" Jennifer asked between bites. "Visiting someone?" Robert hesitated. "Something like that. I actually just had surgery here recently. A transplant." Jennifer's eyes widened with genuine interest. "Really? How are you feeling?" "Better than I have in years, honestly. I got incredibly lucky. Someone donated to me anonymously." Something flickered across Jennifer's face, an emotion Robert could not quite read. "That's amazing. Anonymous donors are rare. Whoever it was must be an extraordinary person." "I think about them constantly," Robert admitted. "Wish I could thank them. I wish I could tell them what their gift meant." Jennifer looked down at her sandwich, suddenly very focused on it. "I'm sure they know. People who donate anonymously usually do it because they don't want gratitude. They just want to help. How do you know?" "I just do." She stood up abruptly, grabbing her trash. "Thank you for the food, Robert. I need to get back to my shift." "Wait," Robert called after her. "Will I see you again?" Jennifer turned back, a small smile on her face. "It's a hospital. We're both here a lot. I'm sure our paths will cross." And then she was gone, disappearing into the maze of corridors, leaving Robert with a strange feeling in his chest. Something about her felt familiar, though he could not explain why. Volunteering and discovery over. The next 2 weeks, Robert made a decision that surprised even himself. He signed up to volunteer at Memorial City Hospital's transplant support group. He told his business partner Gregory that he needed to give back, to understand the patient experience better so his future charitable donations would be more effective. But really, he was hoping to run into Jennifer again. The support group met every Tuesday evening in a small conference room on the 3rd floor. Robert sat in a circle with other transplant recipients and donors, listening to their stories. Was Michael, a 52-year-old teacher who had received a kidney from his sister? There was Patricia, a 67-year-old grandmother who had donated to a stranger after her husband died waiting for a heart. There was David, a young father who had been on dialysis for 3 years before receiving his transplant. Each story moved Robert deeply. These were ordinary people who had faced extraordinary circumstances. And somewhere among them, perhaps, was someone who knew his donor. On the 3rd Tuesday, Jennifer walked into the room. She froze when she saw Robert sitting in the circle. Their eyes met, and Robert saw surprise flash across her face before she quickly composed herself. "Jennifer," the group facilitator said warmly, "we're so glad you decided to join us. Everyone, this is Jennifer Hayes. She's a nurse here at the hospital, and she recently became a living donor herself." Robert's heart stopped. Everything suddenly clicked into place. The timeline, the exhaustion, the way she had looked when he mentioned his anonymous donor, coffee-stained scrubs, and the forgotten meals because she was pushing herself too hard too soon after surgery. It was her. Jennifer took a seat directly across from Robert, carefully avoiding his gaze. But Robert could not look away. The woman who had saved his life was sitting right in front of him. She had no idea that he knew. The meeting proceeded with people, sharing their experiences and offering support to one another. When it was Jennifer's turn to speak, she kept it brief. "I donated to someone I didn't know," she said quietly. "My younger brother died waiting for a transplant, and I couldn't save him, so I thought maybe I could save someone else's brother, or sister, or father. I just wanted someone to get the chance my brother never did." Her voice cracked slightly on the last words, and Robert felt his throat tighten with emotion. This brave, selfless woman had given him life because she could not save her own brother, and she had done it asking for nothing in return. After the meeting ended, Robert waited until most people had left before approaching her. "Jennifer," she turned, her expression guarded. "Robert, I didn't know you attended this group. Just started coming. I wanted to understand the donation process better." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Your brother. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you." She wrapped her arms around herself, a protective gesture. "It was 5 years ago, but sometimes it feels like yesterday." "Is that why you became a donor?" "Yes. I couldn't help him, but I thought I could help someone else, and I did. That's enough for me." Robert took a breath. "Jennifer, I need to ask you something. When was your surgery?" She met his eyes then, and he saw that she knew exactly what he was asking. 5 weeks ago?" "Why? Mine was 5 weeks ago, too." Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken truth. "Jennifer," Robert said softly, "it was you, wasn't it? You're my donor." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, but she did not look away. "I didn't know it was you, not until I saw you here tonight and did the math. I never asked who received my kidney. I didn't want to know. Why not? Because it wasn't about gratitude or recognition. It was about giving someone a second chance. That's all I wanted." Robert felt his own eyes burning with tears. "You gave me more than a second chance. You gave me my life back. How can I ever thank you?" "You don't have to thank me, Robert. Just live. Live well. That's all I ask." But Robert shook his head. "That's not enough. Not for me. Jennifer, you're the most extraordinary person I've ever met, and I don't even really know you yet. But I want to. I want to know everything about you. Will you let me?" Jennifer smiled through her tears, a genuine smile that lit up her entire face. "I'd like that." And in that moment, in a small hospital conference room, surrounded by the echoes of other people's stories of survival and hope, something began between them. Not just gratitude, not just connection, but the first stirring of something deeper. Something that would change both of their lives forever. When worlds collide the weeks following the support group, meeting transformed both of their lives in ways neither had anticipated. Robert and Jennifer began spending time together. First, in the neutral territory of the hospital, then gradually in the outside world. Robert introduced Jennifer to quiet restaurants where they could talk for hours without interruption. Jennifer showed Robert the small community garden where she volunteered on weekends, the place where she felt closest to her brother Tommy's memory. Their connection deepened quickly, built on a foundation that was both profound and unusual. They had quite literally shared life itself. But beyond that biological bond, they discovered they shared something else, a deep understanding of loss and the determination to create meaning from it. Robert told Jennifer about the empire he had built, but also about the loneliness that came with it. "I have all this success," he said one evening as they walked through the park near her apartment. "But I realized when I was sick that I had no one who really cared if I lived or died. My parents passed away years ago. I never married, poured everything into my business, and it almost cost me everything." Jennifer listened, her hand warm in his. "Building something meaningful takes time. You built a business. Now you can build a life." "I want to build it with you," Robert said, stopping to face her. "I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other in some ways. But Jennifer, you gave me life. Let me spend it with you." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "I'm not going anywhere, Robert. We have time." But not everyone was happy about their growing relationship. When word began to leak that Robert Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell Enterprises, was dating Jennifer Hayes, the nurse who had donated her kidney to him, the media descended like vultures. The storm started with a single article in the Dallas Morning Chronicle. Carolyn Bennett, an investigative journalist known for her aggressive reporting style, published a piece titled "From Donor to Mrs. Mitchell: Romance or Transaction." The article was brutal. It suggested that Jennifer had deliberately donated her kidney to a wealthy patient as a calculated move to secure her financial future. It dredged up details about her modest salary, her student loans, her small apartment. It painted her as an opportunist who had used her profession and her brother's death to manipulate a vulnerable millionaire. Jennifer read the article in stunned silence, sitting at her kitchen table while Amanda paced angrily behind her. "This is garbage," Amanda fumed. "Complete garbage. You didn't even know who Robert was when you donated. The registry keeps that information confidential." "It doesn't matter," Jennifer said quietly, her voice hollow. "No one will believe that. They see a rich man and a poor nurse, and they fill in the blanks with whatever story makes sense to them." Her phone buzzed continuously with calls from reporters. Someone had leaked her personal cell number. She turned it off, but the damage was done. By the next morning, photographers were camped outside her apartment building. Her supervisor at the hospital called her in for a meeting. "Jennifer, I need." "To be honest with you," her supervisor said, her expression sympathetic but firm, "the board is concerned about the publicity. Patients are asking questions. Staff members are gossiping. It's becoming a distraction. Are you firing me?" Jennifer asked, her heart sinking. "No, but I am suggesting you take a leave of absence until this blows over." "Paid leave," she added quickly. "We're not punishing you yet. We just need to let things settle down." Jennifer left the hospital that day feeling like her entire life was crumbling. She had saved a life, fallen in love, and somehow become the villain in her own story. Robert, meanwhile, was furious. Called an emergency meeting with his legal team and public relations advisors at Mitchell Enterprises headquarters. "Want a statement prepared," he said, his voice cold with controlled anger. "I want it made absolutely clear that Jennifer Hayes had no idea who I was when she donated. I want every news outlet to understand that she is being unfairly targeted because of my wealth and status." Gregory Walsh, his business partner, spoke up carefully. "Robert, might I suggest a different approach? The more you fight this, the more attention you give it. Perhaps it would be better to let it fade naturally." "No." Robert's response was immediate and firm. "I will not let Jennifer's reputation be destroyed because people want a scandal. She saved my life. She deserves better than this. And what do you propose?" Robert was quiet for a long moment, an idea forming. "I propose we tell the truth. All of it. Publicly. No more hiding, no more anonymity. If they want a story, I'll give them the real one." The gala 3 weeks later, Mitchell Enterprises hosted its annual charity gala at the Grand Hyatt Dallas. The event was legendary, attracting politicians, celebrities, business leaders, and philanthropists from across the country. This year's theme was healthcare innovation, and the proceeds would support medical research and patient care programs. Jennifer had not wanted to attend. The media attention had been overwhelming, and the idea of appearing at such a public event terrified her. But Robert had been insistent. "Trust me," he had said, taking her hands in his. "I know what I'm doing. This is how we take control of the narrative." Jennifer found herself in an elegant navy blue dress, standing in the wings of the hotel ballroom while hundreds of Dallas's elite mingled and sipped champagne. Amanda had come with her for moral support, squeezing her hand tightly. "You've got this," Amanda whispered. "Just remember why you're here." Robert took the stage at 8 o'clock sharp. The room quieted instantly. He was wearing a perfectly tailored black suit, but there was something different about him tonight. A vulnerability in his expression that Jennifer had never seen in public before. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight to support healthcare innovation and patient care. Many of you know me as the CEO of Mitchell Enterprises. You know me as a businessman and investor, someone who builds things. But 2 years ago, I became something else, a dying man." Murmur rippled through the crowd. Robert continued, his voice steady. "I had end-stage renal failure. Without a kidney transplant, I had weeks, maybe days, to live. I had access to the best doctors, the best hospitals, unlimited resources. But none of that mattered because I didn't have what I needed most, a donor." He paused, scanning the audience until his eyes found Jennifer standing in the wings. He gestured to her. "Jennifer Hayes, would you please join me?" Jennifer's heart pounded as she walked onto the stage. Camera flashes erupted. She could hear whispers and gasps from the audience. When she reached Robert, he took her hand gently. "This is Jennifer Hayes," Robert said to the audience. "She's an ICU nurse at Memorial City Hospital. She's dedicated her career to saving lives. And 5 months ago, she saved mine." The ballroom was completely silent now. "Jennifer donated her kidney to me anonymously through the National Kidney Registry. She did not know who I was. She did not ask for anything in return. She did it because her younger brother died waiting for a transplant. And she wanted to make sure someone else got the chance he never had." Ouch. Jennifer felt tears streaming down her face, but she did not look away from the audience. "Over the past few months, Jennifer and I discovered the truth about our connection. And in that discovery, we found something neither of us expected. Love. Real, honest, transformative love. Not because of money. Not because of what we could give each other materially, but because we both understand what it means to lose everything and be given a second chance." Robert turned to face Jennifer fully, taking both of her hands. "The media has tried to make our story into something ugly. They've questioned Jennifer's motives, attacked her character, suggested she's using me for financial gain. But let me be absolutely clear. Jennifer Hayes is the most selfless, courageous, and genuine person I have ever known. She gave me life when I had nothing to offer her in return. And now, if she'll allow me, I want to spend the rest of that life showing her exactly what her gift means." The audience erupted in applause. Several people stood, then more, until the entire ballroom was on its feet. Jennifer looked out at the sea of faces, many of them moved to tears, and felt the weight of the past weeks finally lift from her shoulders. Caroline Bennett, the journalist who had written the damaging article, was standing near the back of the room. Even from the stage, Jennifer could see the woman's expression had changed. There was no smugness, no satisfaction, just a quiet recognition that she had gotten the story completely wrong. Later that night, after the gala had ended and the crowds had dispersed, Robert and Jennifer sat together on the balcony of his penthouse, looking out over the glittering Dallas skyline. "You didn't have to do that," Jennifer said softly. "You could have let it blow over quietly." "No, I couldn't," Robert replied. "Not when people were attacking you. Not when the truth was so much better than any lie they could invent." Jennifer leaned her head against his shoulder. "So what happens now?" "Now," Robert smiled. "Now we build something together. Something meaningful. Something that honors your brother's memory and helps other people get the second chance we both received." 1 year later, the Hes Mitchell Foundation opened its doors on a crisp autumn morning. Exactly 1 year after Jennifer's surgery, the building was modest but modern, located in a medical district where it could isolate serve patients and coordinate with hospitals throughout the region. The foundation's mission was simple but powerful: to provide financial support for transplant surgeries, recovery assistance for living donors, and advocacy for organ donation awareness. Robert had funded the foundation's endowment personally, ensuring it would operate in perpetuity. Jennifer served as the executive director, bringing her medical expertise and personal experience to every decision. On opening day, they stood together in the main lobby, watching as patients and families streamed through the doors for the first time. A young mother with 2 children clutched an application for assistance, hope visible in her tired eyes. An elderly man inquired about becoming a living donor for his wife. A college student asked about volunteering. Dr. Patricia Welch, who would perform both Jennifer's and Robert's surgeries, attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony. She pulled Jennifer aside afterward, her expression warm. "I've been doing transplant surgery for 30 years, Dr. Welch said. I've seen countless donors and recipients, but I've never seen a story quite like yours. You two are proof that sometimes the greatest gifts lead to the greatest love." Jennifer smiled, watching Robert across the room as he spoke with a patient who was waiting for a kidney match. "We're just trying to make sure other people get the chance we did." "You're doing more than that," Dr. Welch said. "You're changing the entire conversation about organ donation. You're showing people that these gifts create connections, build communities, save not just lives, but families and futures." That evening, Robert proposed to Jennifer in the small community garden where she still volunteered every weekend. He had arranged for Tommy's favorite flowers, sunflowers, to be planted throughout the space. As the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, he got down on one knee. "Jennifer Hayes, you gave me life before you ever loved me. You saved me before you knew me. And every day since, you've shown me what it means to live with purpose and love with your whole heart. Will you marry me?" Jennifer pulled him to his feet, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the hospital chapel, surrounded by patients they had helped, donors they had inspired, and families they had saved. Amanda served as maid of honor. Gregory Walsh stood as Robert's best man. And in the front row, in a frame decorated with sunflowers, was a photograph of Tommy Hayes, forever young, forever smiling. His legacy living on in every life his sister and her husband touched. The Hayes-Mickle Foundation would go on to help more than 5,000 patients in its first 5 years. It would facilitate hundreds of living donations. It would change hospital policies, influence state legislation, and inspire similar programs across the country. But more than any of that, it stood as a testament to a simple truth, that the greatest gifts are given not for reward or recognition, but because some people choose to see suffering and respond with love. Because some people, like Jennifer Hayes, understand that saving a life is not a transaction. It is a calling. It is a choice. And sometimes, it is the beginning of the most beautiful story of all.